the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. And listen, even back as early as or late as December, really, of last year, we had major question marks with Ohio State. They lost for a fourth straight time to their arch rival in Michigan. Ryan Day, that guy right there, his back was against the wall heading into the college football playoff. If they did not perform up to their talent level, he might have been sent packing last year. So how did he respond? They beat Tennessee, they beat Oregon, they beat Texas, they beat Notre Dame, all the way to a national championship victory. All four of those teams are among the best in the country, obviously, and they beat all four of those teams in convincing fashion to win their first national title in a decade. Now, yes, Ohio State did lose 14 players who were drafted in the 2025 NFL draft, which is tied for the second most ever for a school in one draft, but they still have the two best players in the sport in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs.
Absolutely. That's where it starts. I mean, look, for as much as, we obviously get into the weeds on this show with everything we do, and we're going to have a ton of the Ohio State games all year. Facts are facts. When you have the two best players in the country, when you have one of the best receivers we've ever seen in Jeremiah Smith, and you have one of the best safeties that we've seen in a long time in Caleb Downs, I mean, that's where it starts. And you look at the trickle down that it creates. Look at the offensive weaponry for Ohio State. Then you've got a guy like Carnell Tate, who for most teams would be their number one. Yeah. He's your two. You've got Max Clare at tight end. You got a loaded group of weapons for what we think Julian Sayin it'll be at quarterback to work with. And then secondary is still going to be good, right? They lost a lot of veteran talent, but you still bring back around Downs, Davis and Igbinosun. You've got Jermaine Matthews. You've got some other young kids because Ohio State's always recruiting great in the secondary. But the foundation of this team now and for the next this year with Downs, he'll be a top 10 pick next year. And then in 27 with Jeremiah, you have the two best football players in the country. Yep. And the fact that you can base a unit around each of them, what a huge advantage.
We've done the PFF College 50, ranking the top 50 players in college football at PFF for about a decade now. I've tried to find every single article we've done. I could not find another instance where the top two players play for the same school. So this is the first time ever that the top two players in college football come from the same school in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. So yes, a brand new quarterback, brand new coordinators too, because they lost both their coordinators, one of them to Penn State, one of them to the NFL, and Chip Kelly. So they have Matt Patricia now on defense and Brian Hartline, who's now promoted to offensive coordinator. Those are the question marks, but you have the two best players in the country, and wide receiver Jeremiah Smith and safety Caleb Downs. Question mark, Dalton, is kind of the one weakness of the team last year. It was the offensive line, because last year, 69.3 offensive line grade. That was 63rd in the country. They also lost 2 first-round picks from that offensive line in Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons, and they lost a Remington Award-winning center in Seth McLaughlin, too. All 5 projected starters this year had sub-70 PFF grades in 2024, including Rice transfer Ethan Onyanwa, who should be taking over at left tackle. So the offensive line is still pretty easily, I think, the biggest question mark for this Ohio State team right now, which could be an issue for the new quarterback, Dalton, and Julian Sayin.
Absolutely. I think when you look at that offensive line, last year after Josh Simmons got hurt is when things really started to become more of a struggle for Ohio State offensively. And bear in mind, too, you're replacing your offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, who's now with the Raiders, and Jim Knowles on the defensive side as well needs to be mentioned. This is a team replacing both coordinators, but I think especially offensively, what really bailed them out of those offensive line struggles? 1, moving Donovan Jackson to left tackle, and he was great in the playoff. 2, the adjustments up front that Chip Kelly made, especially in the run game, and understanding what needed to be done to cover those flaws. Can Brian Hartline do the same thing? But when you get into Julian Sayin, now you're talking about a guy who was the number 2 quarterback in the country last year coming out of high school, is DJ Lagway, then Julian Sayin, then Dylan Raiola.
Still a top 10 recruit overall.
Absolutely. A kid with a ton of talent. I think he's urgent and accurate from the pocket, right? I think you're going to get a little less movement than you would from a Will Howard in that offense, where Howard can move outside the pocket and even get in the design run game a little bit. But I think his release is, I'm not saying at all, I'm not trying to compare guys and what their careers are going to be, but his delivery, his release reminds me a little of Drew Brees. He kind of darts passes in an accurate manner out in front of him. I don't think he's got a lights out A+ arm, but I think he could be really accurate and he can throw the ball on time in this offense. And I think what you're looking at, honestly, is just, again, I've had this with one or two other guys. I think Malik Washington, even in Maryland too, is we're just not going to know until we know, right?
Yeah.
And the good news is he's got maybe the best set of weapons in the country. And, hey, Julian, when in doubt, chuck it up to number 4, and I'm sure something good will happen. But he's going to get a fun test that first week against Texas, isn't he? But I think that's what you're looking at, is a pocket passer that if they can protect him, if Brian Hartline can find ways to protect him up front, Sayin can be good, because I think accuracy might be his best trait.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch him next year, and I was really impressed by the spring game he had this past year. Again, I know it's a spring game. It's really all you have to go off of for Julian Sayin. Top 10 overall recruit coming out of high school. Very, very talented passer. And Jeremiah Smith, we'll talk about right now, he was very complimentary of Julian Sayin. He's like, man, he throws a very catchable football. So.
And that's honestly, I think that's the best way to put it. It's catchable, and it just gets where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Again, that's where I look at like the Drew Brees kind of out in front release, because he just gets it where it needs to. And he's willing to step up in the pocket, which is a really big asset. I think especially over the middle of the field, Sayin's going to be really good.
So the offensive player spotlight and the defensive player spotlight has never been easier than the Ohio State Buckeyes, because like I said before, the 2 best players in the country play for Ohio State, and both of them are on different sides of the ball too. Offensive, obviously, the best player in college football, that is Jeremiah Smith. Second time ever, and for the first time since Trevor Lawrence in 2019, the number 1 player in the PFF College 50 is a rising true sophomore. Jeremiah Smith was the number 1 overall recruit in the 2024 class, the highest rated wide receiver ever to come out of high school, lived up to the hype immediately in Columbus as a true freshman, was the most valuable receiver in the country last year according to our wins above average metric, 89.8 receiving grade, was 3rd in the country, and was more than 4 points higher than any other returning receiver in college football. Led the Power 4 with 15 receiving touchdowns, was 2nd in the Power 4 in receiving yards, only behind Tedero McMillan. And Tedero McMillan, I said this before, was the only really option in that Arizona offense. Jeremiah Smith had to compete with Emeka Egbuka, with Carnell Tate, with the running backs Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson for touches in that offense. Still 2nd in the Power 4 receiving yards as a true freshman. He's an athletic freak, 6'3". Now I think 225. He said he gained weight this offseason as if he needed it. Incredibly refined skill set. Everything I've heard about the kid, he's the hardest worker in the building every single time. He is a generational type of receiver and still has to play 2 more years of college football. He's only 19 years old right now. He's on the cover of EA College Football 26. Just the kind of hype he had coming into high school is not even enough for how good he was as a true freshman. Dalton, this is truly going to be, I think, one of the greatest receivers we've ever seen in college football.
It's Calvin Johnson, it's Julio Jones, it's A.J. Green. It's on that level. If he was allowed to be in this past draft, he would have gone in the top 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're looking at. Possibly as high as 2nd, no lower than 4th to New England. I think they would have taken. And I like Will Campbell a lot, but if New England had Jeremiah sitting there at 4 available to him,
you can't pass him up.
You can't pass. I mean, it's just you run out of things to say about him. And it's only been 1 year, and I've already run out of things to say. He's just a freak of nature, right? I mean, you've got one on offense, and then you got another one on defense in Caleb Downs, who I think is the best safety prospect at least since Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
Is that where we're at right now with this?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just Caleb Downs. Even his freshman year at Alabama, I was so darn impressed with just his football IQ. Obviously, his older brother plays wide receiver, Josh Downs, in the NFL. But Caleb is the key to their whole defense. And the number of different things schematically that he allowed Jim Knowles to do last year. And we'll see if Matt Patricia can take some of those ideas and maybe even get more creative with him this year. But Caleb Downs, look, he plays safety, but in certain looks, he was kind of their middle linebacker. He's a great tackler. He's got spectacular vision. He's everything. I could say everything that you need a safety to do, and that's what Caleb Downs is. He's the best defensive player in the country. I'm not sure it's close at the moment. It's just he can do it all. Coverage, run defense. If you want to blitz him, you can. I'm sure that'd be fine. I mean, he can play anywhere. And not only that, I don't know if he's going to stay returning punts this year, but we saw a pretty darn good punt return against Indiana, too. That just shows you the type of athlete that he is. Caleb Downs is as special a defensive player as you could have in the country.
I mentioned this before, but he is now the number 1 safety in the country in 2 straight years in our offseason rankings. The only other players who were number 1 at their position for 2 straight years, or multiple years, I should say, Trevor Lawrence, Derek Stingley Jr., Brock Bowers. All of them top 15 picks. Caleb Downs should be a top 15 pick. I know there's been kind of a run of great safeties recently that fall out of the top 15, like Kyle Hamilton and like Malachi Starks. This is a guy who Trevor Sickman's right upstairs right now, actually, for PFF week this week. I was talking to him this morning. He's like, yeah, he's the best player in the draft. Caleb Downs is the best player.
I think at the moment, until whatever quarterbacks emerge, and obviously there's always somebody that's like, oh my God, look at the season he had. Yeah, no, he's number one. He's the best football player in the 2026 class right now.
Unbelievable player
question.
as a run defender and as a coverage defender. He could do anything for a defense, and then as a punt returner too. Like Dalton said, that punt return touchdown against Indiana was insane. So
you gonna see him play running back?
Maybe. Honestly,
we had rumors about it last year,
and they lost Judkins and Henderson. So maybe the little Heisman campaign for Caleb Downs, get him against Jeremiah Smith for the Heisman Trophy next year. Honestly, that'd be pretty electric. But he's an incredible player. Two incredible players at Ohio State. But Dalton, is that enough for the Buckeyes? Because I know they lost so much from last year's team. The win total right now set at 10.5. Are you going over or under? And do they still have a chance to go back-to-back and win the national title next year?
I will tell you, I'm not going to take them to repeat. And I think because of the youth at quarterback, the two new coordinators on each side, offensive and defensive, and I know Hartline's been in the system for a long time, but two new coordinators, new quarterback, whole lot of new names on defense. I'm not going to take them to win the title. I'm not going to take them to repeat. I will pick somebody else. Where
would you put them right now? Like top 5?
Well, they can still make the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they could absolutely still make the playoff. They're probably like in the top. You probably still have to put them in the top 8 for all the talent. The only thing, and that number, this is where the betting thing gets fun because you talk about a 10.5 win total, right? So you're telling me if I'm taking the over on a team that went 10-2 last year, don't forget, they're either A, they're going to beat Texas week 1.
Yeah,
I'm not even all the way in on that decision yet. Or B, they're going to lose to Texas and they're going to reel off the other 11. It's tough. They haven't beat Michigan in a while.
Penn State's loaded. You
never know what else happens, especially with a young quarterback and a young defense.
Play Illinois too, yeah.
Especially because of this Texas game week 1, that I might, a month away from it, be leaning Texas. I still need to look more into that, but that's a Manning coming into your building. I'm going to take the narrow under at 10-2. Sayin's the X factor. If Sayin goes in and with those weapons, they're still elite offensively, which I probably shouldn't doubt considering all the great quarterbacks Ohio State's had the last 20 years. I probably shouldn't doubt him at all. I'm gonna ride the under line and go 10-2 again. But they're really good, and if they go 10-2, they're going to the playoff. I do think they are. There is a road where they can still win the Big Ten. I'm not going to take them to win the whole thing. I'm not going to do it. I just think there's too much youth, especially O-line and D-line.
Next year could be a year where they make a run.
27 could be a nasty year. That could really be where it's like, okay, Ohio State.
Or 2026, you mean, yeah.
6. Yeah. I keep getting caught up on the draft.
The draft,
right. But 26 might be the year I pick them to win the title again. I'm not going to do it this year, but they very well could make the playoff.
I'm also not picking them to win the title. I'm also going under, but it's a 10-2 under. I'm not saying they're going to go 8-4 or 9-3. I'm saying they're going to go 10-2, but go under that win total. The Texas, Penn State, Michigan part of it, and I know Michigan's worse than both those schools, but that's just kind of the hang up for Ohio State right now. Those are the 3 I'm kind of worried about. I don't know if they're going to win 2 of those 3.
And I think what sits on me just a little bit, even more so than the players, because we knew they were loaded last year, they were losing a lot, is Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles were just as responsible for the turnaround and the playoff run as any of the players were. On both sides, making the adjustments schematically, what Chip Kelly did, especially in the run game, what Jim Knowles did messing around with a lot of his coverages, I think to lose that, and I'm not saying Hartline and Patricia can't be really good, but to lose those two guys.
That was the best coordinator pairing in the country, I think.
Absolutely. And now they're both gone and you're replacing them the same year. That's the part that gets me in those big moments, right? You got Jim Knowles coming back with Penn State to play at Ohio State, right? You've got to get through this Texas defense with Pete Kwiatkowski on that side. And Texas, other than Michigan, played the best defensive game last year against Ohio State. We're going to talk about a bunch of their games head-to-head when we get to the previews, but I think replacing both coordinators is also going to be a big factor here for Ohio State.
Yeah, both of us still probably think this is a playoff team next year and still a contender to win the Big Ten next year, but maybe not be a national championship level caliber team, but still be a really good team in college football. So soft under for both of us in the 10.5 win total.